Welcome to Zurich. Many thanks for joining us. I also wish to welcome you on behalf of Gitanjali down, which will come or say a few words just after me. We both extend our sincerest thanks to the more than 30 artists, curators and practitioners who have traveled here from 9 major cities spread across the world. We are very excited to have the opportunity to discuss your projects and context over the next 3 days. Sorry. And no, sorry. And please apologize that I have to read this text because I'm not so used to speaking English freely, so I have to have a text in front of me so I don't forget anything. Among you are also 4 commentators, the anthropologist Anila, Daulatzai and Uzma, Rizvi, and the media and culture theorist Nils Röller, and the artist Zheng. Zheng will join us tomorrow. They will be participating in the discussions and have agreed to comment on the themes and issues from the perspective of their particular discipline. Our conference moderator is writer and film curator Gareth Evans. Thank you as well, Gareth. Last but not least, our conference also includes 40 students who also come from 9 or even more than 9 countries worldwide. Most of you are participating in the summer school, which Zurich University of Arts is hosting jointly with Manifesta 11. Finally, a very warm welcome to all our guests. I wish you an enjoyable and successful conference for the next 3 days. Let me say a few words, 1 or 2, about the draft project. I address the words especially to the people who couldn't join us in Mumbai and don't know the project yet. The draft project and its conferences is based on a certain interest. The interest relates to phenomena in contemporary art that are usually produced and discussed in a field defined as public art. And we all are concerned about the pressing issues they raise, issues of our time that strike us as citizens, as thinking artists, and as human beings. And some of us wonder what if art addresses those issues, how collaborative artists together with their accomplices work on them and work within them. But there's a minor crux. Who still is enthusiastic about the categories, the typologies and the programmatics of so-called public art? You get the impression that those attributions and distinctions, like institution and real world, spectacle and participation, are not of much use in the transcultural context we are working in, and that they are questionable in the context of post-identitarian spaces and in an area of a post-fundamental thinking that takes no paradigm for granted. All the more, there's a great interest. It's an adventure to reveal and experience the individual aspects of each project, the singularity of the works, and the particularity of their context. Once, many years ago, the US-based artist Lawrence Wiener told me, I quote, "You don't agree with a situation. You are dissatisfied with a configuration. It makes you angry. You take off your shoes and you throw them against it. That is what an artist do, and they do it at the risk of standing there barefoot and alone." Quote, finish. At the time, Lawrence Wiener did not specify the configuration, and he left open what he meant with the shoes, how they should be thrown, and what the idea of danger and responsibility was. What does an artist do? What does art do? Basically, you take part in a debate. You might succeed or not, and art gets involved in it. Art projects and art works hold debates among and with each other, as reflected in Foucault's notion of a discursive practice. However, they also take part in debates conducted beyond the field of art, as reflected in the notion of dense knowledge by the French philosopher Lyotard. We understand debate as an expression and performance of dissent. Debates argue out conflicts, just as they cultivate and manage complexity. The combative and the antagonistic nature of a debate are a part or an important part of what philosopher Chantal Mouffe understands as the public space, and through recourse to Jacques Rancière and Jean-Luc Nancy, what she calls the political. Be this the political in the field of art or in the fields of knowledge, economy, legislation, or ultimately also in the fields of politics. The project draft explores contemporary art that produces, contributes to, or provokes public debate. That's what we assume us to do. We all met a year ago for our first conference in Mumbai. In Mumbai, all participants presented their individual researches and activities. It created a large collage of artistic, curatorial, scientific, and activist approaches and interests. It also created a large and many-layered collage of actual conceptual, social, and political concerns. Let me give a short overview of what we have been discussed in Mumbai. There was a mention of violence, organized crime, and narco-terrorism, which hollow out state structures. How can violence be negotiated and come to terms with by activating monuments in public space? We heard about a reactionary educational system and the eroded publicness in an authoritarian regime. How about this malaise might be countered, and how this malaise might be countered by reviving the traditional houses of culture and by establishing a counter-public. We learned about migrant spaces in Europe and their translocal economic and demographic movements, and about how subjects, experiences, and images establish themselves in transnational, post-colonial public spaces. There was a mention of the politics of fear, the fear of contamination, the fear of being infected by pathogenic agents, by economic crisis, and by political ideas. We also heard about the hegemonic forces that lie hidden in the intercultural exchange of knowledge, practices, and goods. We heard about new media and social media are changing the public sphere, about state censorship and manipulation of information and opinion forming, and how artistic means are used for listening carefully to the silent voices. There was a mention of rapid technologization and urbanization, of the increasing differences as regards livelihood, rights, and space for citizens, and how an alternative use of infrastructure and informal infrastructures can make a metropolis alive or viable. We heard about decolonization and neoliberalization, and about how history can be rewritten and politics reshaped. One issue was the connecting between real estate speculation, urban planning, and the so-called refugee crisis, and about how the right to the city can be given a voice and scope for action. We heard about the arbitrary rule of the state apparatus, about repressive court procedures, and the violation of citizens' rights, and about how an artistic practice of collective enactment can help to devise an alternative idea of justice and law. Finally, another issue addressed was the impending threat of forgetting one's liberal past, and about how an open society is being reminded of this lost history through popular narratives. We didn't go so far as to see these situations and reactions as a diagnosis of our time, and it wasn't our goal to draw conclusions from them. Nevertheless, we discussed some notions deduced from those constellations, like notions of belonging and citizenship, notions of crisis, hope and friendship, of body politics, affection and artistic knowledge production, of non-liberal politics or non-liberal public sphere and civil society. The range of issues we discussed looks quite large and the artistic practices diverse. Nevertheless, we seem to know each other's condition because they are, at the same time and to a certain degree, our own. It's the global fabric structured by the new capitalism in close partnership either with a neoliberal democracy or with an authoritarian regime. And we think we somehow understand each other's artistic practices because they are all entangled with what we call global art or simply contemporary art, in which we, in a way, all take part. But as in the sciences and the arts as well, we live in a polycentric world, in a network of institutions, technologies, and communication. This world is characterized by transcultural exchange and between local processes and art production. And it is characterized by systems of knowledge which are closely entangled and intertwined. On the other hand, we all know it's quite a difference between learning in the sense of knowing about the situation and living in it, acting it, and working in it. I mean, struggling in it. That's why it is more than necessary we have a closer look at it, to explore how different hegemonies in politics and social relations within their historical and ecological contexts create a different meaning and shape a different experience and knowledge in the arts. To create a different meaning means to use art in a different way. How do these different ways of usage look like? Which change of function do they imply? If I remember well, I think it was you, Quatemok, who pointed out to profit from interaction across groups, from foreign knowledge and perspective, on all levels, and to reconsider one's own history and methods in dealing with art in the public sphere, and as well as to follow a concrete, process-oriented level of transcultural exchange. So, here we are again the second time. Over the last year, all the 9 collaboratives, we all conceived and realized some projects. Collaborative means a bunch of people, mostly from different disciplines or areas of activities. And the projects are all, on all levels, quite different. Some of them resulted in artworks and exhibitions. Some are processes. Some included public or semi-public workshops. Others were done in dialogue with experts. Some started even before the first conference took place. Others started late, just got finished a few days ago, or are still on the way. Some address the public in the neighborhood. Others are performed for an expert public, for peers. Some contribute to ongoing debates. Others try to make things available for a debate you don't know yet. And we will see that all the next 3 days when we go through the projects. I'd like to finish with a question and come back for that to Lorenz Wiener. In a short text, The Tomb of the Intellectual, Jean-François Lyotard defined the character of the intellectual as an expert in a particular subject or discipline, but he transgresses its boundaries and engages in issues, public interests. He does it because he feels responsible for universal values. The heteronomous art we are speaking about in our context here today and the next days does the same. But in whose name do we take the responsibility today? And concerning the shoes Wiener mentioned before, which art, what do you bring in the debate? Or the other way around. With art, what do you bring in the debate? Till now, I didn't say anything about the sensuality and the sharing in the sensuality of those artistic processes, but this might be something for the public discussions we do, or for the further discussions we do here in our context.